after 2 days of having a dark cloud rain on Barnum, he goes to a doctor and asks him, how do I get rid of this cloud? It won't go away. And the doctor says, I'm not sure. But there's an ancient hymn about these dark clouds. It says, I went through the desert on a horse with no name, and it was good to get out of the rain. And so I think you need to ride through the desert on a horse, and then the cloud will dry up and you'll get rid of it. Barnum collects a bag of the magic beans from the beanstalk, and he heads off, or he buys a mule because he can't find a horse, and he heads off across the plains. And every time he gets to where he can't see a beanstalk, he plants one. And so that he'll have a trail to follow back home. And he rides around the desert for months and just gets soaked. He's getting so depressed because he's just always socky, soaping, drenched, wet. Can't get dry. Has a cloud over him. So he rides back home and he asks again, well, what did I do wrong? Well, maybe you took a mule and not a horse. You gotta take a horse. So he buys a horse. This time there's one available, and he goes back across the plains. And it's another 6 or 8 months of going back across the plains on his horse, and he's careful not to name it. And still he's in the rain, and he can't get out of the rain. And every day he feels a little bit more depressed. He finally gets home again, still has the cloud over him, and he asks the doctor again, what do I do? How do I get rid of this cloud? You know, I remembered the next verse. Oh, it has something to do with coming to the ocean and riding a boat across the sea. But I can't remember the exact words. So Barnum rode his horse to the ocean and paid for boat transit and rode on the ocean until he got to the southern islands. Now the southern islands are always gloomy and rainy, and so he couldn't tell if he'd gotten rid of his cloud or not because it's always gloomy and rainy there. And he lived with the forest people for a while, and by this time he's, you know, an older teenager. It's been a while that he's been rained on. And he meets a beautiful woman with curly black hair and black eyes, and he marries her, and he brings her home with him. And he had gotten rid of the rain cloud and gained a wife, and he was very, very happy when he came back home to Plainsville.